I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and here today with me is Manny Alkhafaji. He's Vice President, Corporate Development and Investor Relations at First Majestic Silver. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thanks, Charlotte.
Really good to have you here, and exciting times for silver, especially the last, I would say, month and a half or so, with the price on the rise, even getting to that $37 level. So I wanted to open with that and ask you what you see driving that increase.
Yeah, well, look, it's obviously very exciting times right now. A company like us, we're almost 60% of our revenue from silver, so the movement in silver is quite exciting for us directly. But what's driving it, I think it's just a simple factor of supply demand. It's been, we've been talking about it for quite some time. There's been a structural deficit for 5 years now straight. And, supply is just not keeping up with demand. Demand is continuing to rise. Every year, the deficit is increasing, but supply is tapped out. The miners collectively peaked production in 2016. They produced about 900 million ounces. Yet, this year we're expected to be producing about 830. So it's down, and there's really no material new supply coming to the market. I think new institutions now are starting to pay attention to this. We're seeing more people talking about this deficits. I make a reference, for 2025, I think the official forecast is going to be about 150 million ounce of deficits. To put that in perspective, that's about 10 brand new First Majestics that need to enter the market just to bridge this gap. And that's just simply not going to happen.
Well, and I think this helps to answer my next question. I know people are looking at the move in silver and they feel maybe cautiously optimistic because, of course, silver is known for its volatility, but everyone does want to feel like the move is real. So I was going to ask, do you think it's sustainable? And it sounds like with the deficit that's been building for years, it could be.
Yeah, so silver really broke through $30 only 3 times in our life. It happened in the 80s, it happened in 2011, and now just most recently. It closed, I think, on June 30th, was the highest mid-year on record. So these are all, great supporting factors. I think we're getting comfortable that $30 is definitely the new base for silver. And we haven't really seen silver do what it typically does. Gold is obviously running. It is the granddaddy of the currencies. It's held up quite nicely above 3,000. Silver is just starting to move right now, and typically when it runs, it'll outperform gold. I think year to date it just barely caught up to gold, but we will be doing a macro presentation later at this conference, and you look at historically the outperformance of gold or silver to gold is 2 to 3 to 1 generally. So yeah, we do think that there's a bit more to go with silver.
Of course, I think everybody wants to know how high the price can go. Would you venture any thoughts on that note?
It's hard not to reference Keith, our CEO, and triple digit comes to mind pretty frequently now. More people are talking about it, and I'm a believer of economics. And you look at the mining ratio, and that's sitting at 7 to 1. Yet the price ratio, it is sitting at 90 to 1 right now. So and we just talked about, okay, gold is comfortable at about 3,000. So that tells us, okay, silvers need to play catch up to collapse that ratio. And another reference, when gold hit last time all-time high was at 2,000, silver hit $60 or $50, sorry. We've not seen that $50 yet. And to normalize $50 from 2011 to today, that's $70. So that's kind of the reference points that I'm looking for, get to the 50, then 70, and then, we should be in a much better position.
I always like the mathematical approach. So thank you for going into and sharing that. I want to ask about investor sentiment around silver right now. I know we're at the World Symposium right now, and we're talking just before we came in this room. You had a rush on your booth because, of course, you're here selling the coins. You've got the first mint. So what are you seeing in terms of investor demand and interest in silver and also in the company as well?
Yeah, look, I think they go hand in hand. If most of our shareholders, they buy the stock because they're silver bulls. We have 85,000 shareholders, and to them, they look at equity as a more leveraged way of getting exposure to silver. we obviously sell physical, and a lot of our shareholders are direct consumers and customers of that. But ultimately, they want to get the highest leverage to silver, and First Majestic basically is the go-to name. Our revenue in Q1 was almost 60% from silver. We just updated our guidance this morning, so we're targeting 31 million silver equivalent. About 60% of that is pure silver. 1/3 is gold, and the balance is lead and zinc. Like we mentioned, we sell our physical directly to the consumers. Our shareholders get discount when they buy it directly from us. So the story goes hand in hand.
Yeah, it really does all tie together. And just because you started to mention the updated guidance, the latest results from First Majestic are out literally today. So this is very hot off the press. Is anything else you would pull out? I barely had a chance to look. You guys are keeping me on my toes.
Yeah, look, we started 2025 was and is a transformational year. We just closed our largest transaction. So we bought Gatos Silver. We closed that in January. And that's really a game changer for the company. We're expecting our silver to increase about 70-80% year over year. Our silver equivalency is up almost 50%. Q1 was a very strong start. Q2 was building on that momentum, and we feel very comfortable and confident in revising our guidance. So we're increasing it by about 7% compared to the original. We're targeting now about 31 to 32, 33 million. Costs are coming down as well. You typically see when metal prices increase, production increase, sometimes companies lose sight of their costs and the margins. You're not really able to capture that margin. But our cost discipline is very, very focused on containing costs. So we're trying to, keep them and improving them. And we're reflecting that now with the revised guidance.
And so you mentioned bringing Gatos Silver into the fold. That's transformational. Can you talk a little bit more about that process? Because, of course, it's looking like it's going to be great, but adding another asset company to your responsibilities there, how does that look?
Sure, yeah. So that was one of the most competitive process that we've been involved with. And it took almost a year. Conversation started in early 2024. And we closed it in January 2025. As you can imagine, almost every name that you can think of was involved in this process. It's really what we did, and then there's been a frenzy of M&As that happened in the space soon after. It just goes to show you how rare it is to find a good silver deposit. And Los Gatos hits all these points. It's a district scale asset. It's a low cost producer. It's a significant producer. A relatively new mine. It just commenced production a few years ago. Has a 10-year life of mine based on call it 5% of the land package. So a lot of exploration potential. It comes with 103,000 hectares, and we're obviously very proud and happy to have that in the portfolio. We can understand why others were quite interested, and we've seen other significant M&As that happened soon after.
Yeah, the M&A activity does seem to be heating up in the silver space. And like you said, it is interesting because it's a limited amount of companies and assets that people can go after. So for First Majestic, would you still be on the hunt for projects and companies? Any thoughts?
Well, this is our 22nd year of operations, and the company has been built on M&A. We like distressed assets, single asset companies. We buy them, we fix them up, inject capital, and deploy management expertise. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. In the last 10 years, we seem to have done a significant transaction every 3 years. 2015, we bought Silvercrest, which came with the Santa Elena mine. In 2018, 3 years later, we bought Primero, that came with San Dimas. Jerry Canyon was done in 2021, and now Gatos 2024. So not saying 2027, but we're always looking. We have 19 NDAs signed in place. We always keep an eye out. But we have a specific criteria that we go after, and Gatos was a prime example of what some of those criteria are.
Right. So no promises, but that does really help to get an idea of your strategy. And so in addition to the production, I wanted to talk about exploration a little bit as well, because you mentioned the potential at Los Gatos. I know in May there was a second discovery in a year at Santa Elena. So Would like to hear about those, but also the importance as a producer of continuing that exploration work.
Yeah, so I think that's you hit that right on. Is we're a significant producer, but you always got to make sure you're replacing depletion. We have a record exploration program for 2025. We're targeting about 250 kilometers of drilling across the operations, and that's a big program. But our goal generally is to replace depletion. We're producing 30 million ounces. The 2025 program should, initially the objectives was to replace the 30 million ounces that we're producing. Sometimes exploration, you can't really control Mother Nature. You'll hit it big sometimes, which was the case at Santa Elena. To happen twice, so 2 discoveries within 12 months, you talk to geologists and it doesn't happen. So Santa Elena was a prime example where, we're targeting replacing depletion, but we've hit 2 major discoveries that are going to take us above and beyond that. And that's really what we like. And we're blessed with the land packages that we have around the districts, whether it's Santa Elena, whether it's San Dimas, whether it's Los Gatos. And we're quite comfortable and confident that, those mills will be operating for decades as long as we keep the investments going. And that's a very, key objectives for senior leadership, for the geologists, for the company in general to maintain that.
Clearly a lot going on with the company right now, and of course with silver, as we've been talking about. Before I let you go back out onto the show floor, any final thoughts you'd leave investors with?
Yeah, look, it's there's definitely less and less names in the market right now. First Majestic is it is the go-to name. Silver purity sits in the highest. Q1 was 57%, and as the price improves, as our production increases, they'll give you the most leverage. So yeah, and if you get a chance to see this while we're here, come on over to our booth and get some silver because it's flying off the door right now.
Okay, well, perfect place to wrap up. Thank you so much once again. I'm Charlotte McLeod with investingnews.com, and this is Manny Alkhafaji with First Majestic Silver.